But clearly it must not be fully on their minds because the race is as close as it is, and nobody's burst into laughter at the latest Republican ad, or at least not many Republicans have. Have the Republicans succeeded in muddying up this election, in kind of overcomplicating it so the point is not as simple as you just made it? I mean, 60 years ago, Harry Truman went out and campaigned very simply, looked at people in trouble because of a Republican Congress at that point, and the impact that it had on their lives, and he said, how many more times do you have to be hit over the head till you figure out who's hitting you? I mean, has your campaign in some way not kept it that simple?
You know, we've actually been driving this point home, and I think the convention drove it home. But look, the Republicans can't govern, but they run smart campaigns. And frankly, they are not always policed by the media as effectively as they should be. I was struck with how little scrutiny some of the claims that John McCain and Sarah Palin were making, how little they were subjected to scrutiny coming out of the convention. It's our job to press the point and make the case. And I think that the Republicans have been pretty successful at working the refs during this game. But I have confidence in the American people that if we just drum home the fact that the country is off course, that middle-class families are struggling. Your wages and incomes have gone down under George Bush. Under Democrats, they went up. Unemployment has gone up. Unemployment was down under Bill Clinton. If we just keep on being clear about how we are going to rebuild this economy, then I think we're going to end up winning this campaign.
And there are extraordinarily large developments in terms of that economy, especially in the last couple of days, especially about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They were created as a kind of gentle encouragement by government to more home ownership, to make it more possible. There's nothing gentle about it now. It is essentially fully taxpayer-funded subsidization of home interest rates and home ownership. I mean, should this be the way it is? Is this a permanent solution, or did we just add $5 trillion to the national debt? What do we do now about this?
Well, I don't think it's going to be $5 trillion. That's the amount of debt that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are holding. But a lot of those are good mortgages. People are paying them. We are going to see some losses. Taxpayers are going to take a hit. How big it is, we don't yet know. And I have to be fair on this one. Republicans and Democrats, I think, in Congress did not pay enough attention to the structural problem with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which was they're a quasi-public, quasi-private institution. They're making big profits and their CEOs are taking in big bonuses when times are good, but there's this implicit federal guarantee when times are bad. And that was a structural problem that needs to be fixed. But the problem of not regulating the financial markets effectively generally, not seeing that the subprime lending crisis was leading to a mess, not updating some of our financial regulations since the 1930s, that's been, I think, an example of the neglect on the part of the Bush administration over the last 8 years, whose view is basically anything goes and the government's just got to stay out of the way. That, I think, has ironically hurt the market. And one of the things that we've got to rediscover is that a little bit of well-applied regulation and transparency and accountability actually helps the market, helps the economy grow, and that's what I want to restore when I'm president.
You pointed out last week how little time at their convention the Republicans spent talking about the economy. I think the time might have been 0:00. I'm not sure, we weren't running a clock. But if the election does in fact hinge on the economy, on how Americans are doing, has there been thought given to breaking this down to its simplest element in much the way one of the Republican icons, Mr. Reagan, did during the 1980 campaign, and ask the voters of today, are you better off now than you were 8 years ago?
Oh, absolutely, and I often do that on the campaign trail, and we're going to just keep on repeating that. I mean, this should not be complicated. Here's what it comes down to. Under George Bush's stewardship, with an assist from John McCain and the rest of the Republican Party, the economy is weaker now than it has been in a very long time. Unemployment is higher, poverty is higher, more people are uninsured. Wages and incomes have flatlined. Middle-class folks who used to feel secure now feel unstable. We've got more homes being lost to foreclosure at any time since the Great Depression. And John McCain does not have any discernible difference from George Bush when it comes to economic policy. He's got the same economic policy. So if you like what has happened under George Bush's presidency, you should vote for John McCain. If you think that we have to move this country in a fundamentally different direction, then you should vote for me. And that is going to be the case that we make throughout this election. And frankly, that's not the conversation that the McCain campaign wants to have. Rick Davis was very explicit, John McCain's campaign manager, and said, this campaign is not going to be about the issues. That was his assertion. Well, I think that the American people expect it to be about the issues. They deserve it to be about the issues. That's what we're going to keep on pressing in the weeks that remain.